Work on developing your own skills to successfully manage your mindset and your focus. The whole productivity, just focus on what you need to focus on instead of this distraction. We live in a world of multiple distractions, and it's becoming a big challenge for people to stay focused on their priorities and their activities because they're constantly being interrupted.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Coaching Secrets podcast. I'm your host, Regan, and today's guest is Melissa Dunkley, a seasoned business leadership and succession coach who helps small and mid-sized business owners turn their companies into self-sustaining assets ready for growth, transition, or sale within 3 to 5 years. As the founder and CEO of ResultsNow, Melissa brings over 24 years of consulting experience and has coached everyone from startup founders to C-level executives of 45 billion corporations. She specializes in developing strong leadership teams, increasing business value, and creating profitable exit strategies through her signature profitable succession system. It's a pleasure for me to have her on the podcast today. Welcome to the show, Melissa.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Melissa. It's a pleasure for us to have you on. So I wanted to learn a little bit more about when it comes to you starting your own coaching business. First of all, what inspired you to take that step and start your own coaching business?
It's a bit of a long story, but to make that long story short, honestly, it started when I didn't even know what coaching was. I had already launched a training business with my partner, and he was happened to be an owner of a post-secondary college, and was my trainer as a facilitator for my business. And these are non-athletic coaches, by the way. And this is way back when. So all of the young people don't know this, but I was trained by the college that was the first one to develop non-athletic coaches. And it was developed by Canadian Mental Health over a 5-year research project with psychologists, social workers, and other professional professors that were brought together to do this research and develop a program. And that program was then spread across Canada, one person from each province. And the founder and co-owner of the college was chosen. And she then support from Canadian Mental Health and Alberta Mental Health spun it off into a college. So it was a program, then it went into a college. And because I ended up being on the faculty as well, but eventually we were training coaches all around the world. They were coming to us in Edmonton, Alberta, and White Rock, BC. That's where we had our 2 campuses. So what's inspired me mostly was, number one, I could actually be a coach without being a psychologist. And because that was my career kind of fork in the road. And the opportunity to really get into the thinking of how people change, how people need to think and feel and adapt to any new and different environment or situation in their life was priceless in my mind. It's just one of those things that drew me to the career. And I just went, I could do so much with this. Not only was it deep in training, because I had a 1-year in-class training program, and then I had a 2-year practicum that I had to do, which was under the supervision of 2 psychologists. So my training as a life skills coach, we were working side by side with first responders for a lot of crisis. So we were advocates. We were also trainers of people that were struggling in maintaining their life, their family, their career, that kind of thing. But to add to that, it was an opportunity to be a foundation for the rest of my career where I wanted to go, which was going to be working with people. I knew that because I love people. I went through a lot of personal change myself, and I have re-engineered myself over the years. So it's a significant game changer for me.
For the audience who's listening, how would you describe right now the ideal client profile that you're working with? Would you say they fit a certain industry, a certain demographic? How would you describe? We did mention a little bit about this on the intro as well. We talked about startup founders that you've coached in the past and these C-suite leaders. But how would you break that down?
Well, they're mid-market. So they're larger small businesses. They're usually million to 15, 20 million. So that's larger small business or medium small business to medium sized businesses. And it depends on their industry. So mid-sized companies are usually the engineer, the architecture, the consulting services, legal, that kind of thing that are often attracted to developing their teams. But then it's the companies that are in IT. And these are, as you can probably appreciate, being a marketer yourself, there's a lot of technical understanding and processing, both from an AI perspective, but from a just marketing systems. They get very technical, but they don't have a lot of the leadership and the people skills to manage their teams. And as that company grows, it's really super important for them to start understanding beyond the expertise that their career has afforded them. They have to know how to manage projects and manage people within those projects. Because every company, no matter what they are, always have initiatives or projects that they're trying to achieve in growth or scalability, anything like that. So leadership, management skills of people, hugely important to the sectors. Finance and banking have been a strong component of my typical client as well. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. It does. I was just like trying to understand it. It just gives a lot more clarity now. So, for those types of people who are listening who fit in this criteria, how is it like to work with you? How would you describe the engagement? Is there a certain program or certain length? I'm guessing also customized, but how would you describe the engagement of them working with you?
Well, I guess it all depends on what they're looking for. Oftentimes, my clients come to me feeling stuck. They're stuck in some sort of aspect of growth, either of themselves, knowing that they have to change themselves. They're a leader or they're a founder of a company, president, manager, director, whatever. And they're stuck in knowing, okay, I've got some gaps here, but I don't know exactly what to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know if it's more them or the people they work with. And that still is a disconnect for them because leadership and people skills are a funny thing. Most people just put together a program and it's all about awareness of core concepts that you have to understand as a leader or manager. But that does not make fundamental change. So early in my career with my partner, and then as I evolved my career into succession, I have developed IP, and that IP specifically, those are skill sets that help connect people to change. It connects them to understand, what do I need to change? And so my programs that they go through, it's either a leadership program or it's a company development. So I'm working with the whole company, the C-suite and the suite below. So I will work with those key leaders and managers to help them connect on what do they need to learn for themselves and then facilitate or coach or mentor in others when they manage other people. Just for example, when I said awareness of the skill sets and the concepts around leadership, it just doesn't make a significant difference to people because they don't know how to implement it. So my process that I use is awareness, noticing self and others, process thinking, and then understanding. So it's a 4-step process to help people understand you can be aware that smoking is bad for you, but it doesn't stop you from smoking. Right? So the same thing with, you can be a bad delegator and you're aware of that. You don't delegate enough or you don't delegate well. You can be aware of that. But if you don't notice what you're doing in yourself and what's happening for others when you don't delegate well, and notice those specific skill sets and behaviors, most importantly, the behaviors. And it's just a little bit of a funny story because I was working with a bank executive. He was a CFO of a business unit of a larger bank. And I said, do you know what a behavior is? And he says, yeah, I know what a behavior is. I said, so describe to me what a behavior is. He says, this is what people do. And I said, so out of what we've just done in the last 2 seconds, what behaviors did you observe? He didn't know how to describe and identify a behavior. So we're aware that behaviors are what they are. They're actions. But when we don't notice behaviors, it's a big disconnect on actually training people in people skills and leadership skills because they don't really truly learn the skill of training new and different behaviors and managing those different behaviors, seeing them in ourselves and seeing them in others. So working with me, it's self-discovery. It's a whole new world of understanding how people need to go through change to effectively make a difference for themselves, their teams, and the profitability of their company.
And how long does it typically take to see that meaningful change in themselves?
Well, again, depending on what they're wanting to achieve and what kind of challenges they're currently experiencing, I can make significant difference in 3 to 6 months, and that's only working with them about 4 hours a month.
Okay,
right?
so that makes a lot of sense.
Right. And so that's like a little bit of training time, maximum output and reward. And that's how come I call my company ResultsNow. What we do is highly leverageable.
Is it all one-on-one coaching?
Right now, I'm doing one-on-one and moving to group. I have done a lot of group in the past. I mean, my past life as a coach and community developer, I was doing a lot of group training. But yeah, I've been focused a lot on individual, confidential sessions with leaders who wanted to move forward. But with the succession that I'm emerging as a startup, it's a new venture. And that one is Succession Consulting Group. And I will be doing group work with them primarily because, it's the management team that needs to understand and come together and strategize and make things work.
Now, a question that comes to mind is also thinking about for the data, for the research, and for the coaches who are listening that want to learn a little bit more. When it comes to you finding your clients, going to that marketing topic, what marketing channel is working really well for you right now?
Mostly through my LinkedIn efforts, marketing efforts. I do a lot of posting and I use Sales Navigator, merging into Copilot and that kind of thing. But I do a lot of organic marketing at this point in time, some email campaigns, in-person networking, and a lot of referrals come to me as a result of the work that I'm doing with companies and CEOs.
So just to dive just one little step further of that. So when we're saying Sales Navigator, is it that you're finding the audience that you typically would serve and then outreaching to them, or is it all content?
No, it's both. So Sales Navigator is LinkedIn's special filtering system, and I get to choose my industry, my size of company, their revenue, and that kind of thing. And it helps me go direct to my intended audience versus doing a broadband marketing campaign, which
Mhm.
it's a waste of time because you're getting a lot of not the right people. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, or let's say like not the right people for this type of program. So, Melissa, I wanted to ask you also when it comes to investments, this is going to be helpful also for the research. When it comes to investments you've done over time, what have been some investments that you feel really good about that either you learned a lot or you feel like you got a good return from? They could be either coaching programs, masterminds, communities, or whatever it is, actually, any type of investments that you feel good about. And what have been maybe some investments that you don't feel so good about or investments that you feel like you could have avoided?
Well, I've worked with many incredible people over the years, and they've all influenced me in one way or another, and belonging to many business groups. And some of them work, some of them don't necessarily work really well. You know, the most valuable and the ones that I find are the ones, you know, they train practical skills or their business marketing or focus on business strategy and supporting one another from a strategy point of view. Companies like, I don't know if your audience is familiar with attractionmarketing.com. I worked with them to develop their mentors and coaches originally and scale their premier program to be significant and more successful and profitable.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, they were struggling. And so developing that program, and they're excellent at marketing approaches. Even though they serve a very specific niche of the market, which is network marketers, their approaches to marketing is something any business can benefit from. And the other one is tech. Again, it's mid-market focused. Tech, it means the executive committee, and they have chapters all over the world. But we've been asked to be speakers at some of their chapters across Canada. And that was an opportunity that really helped us get in front of those higher mid-level companies and businesses that became clients. And because of our unique approach to training, our IP specifically, and the tools that we use for leadership and team empowerment. You know, local groups that I really recommend that a lot of coaches tap into are their Chamber of Commerce, like my Edmonton Chamber of Commerce, because I'm out of Edmonton, Canada,
Mm-hmm.
is significantly very influential in the community. And they are very welcoming and they attract my audience. And they host a lot of very engaging events throughout the year. But every month they've got multiple events that bring that audience out. And so
Mm-hmm.
that in-person networking really is quite helpful because you can ask them questions and get that back and forth bantering about, you know, their challenges, what they're working on, that kind of thing, what's next. And other local business associations are hugely important. You know, I know there's this old, well, maybe it's not so old. I don't know. Coaches, they start their business, they go through their friends and family and, you know, exhaust that. But then learning marketing approaches, just start with learning marketing approaches.
Mm-hmm.
Don't bother with the friends and family. That will organically come out of building your business and marketing and learning what your business is all about and what problem you're solving, and reach out to any community and test it out. See what works, what doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are really super expensive and they're not necessarily as valuable as the less expensive ones
Mm-hmm.
that get you in front of your audience. So the key that I have found out of both the good and bad is, do they draw my audience?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first and foremost question in my mind.
Yeah. Do they draw and do they understand it? Because oftentimes I
Mm-hmm.
feel like one of the issues that the coaches that I face who have come to the podcast is that they have worked with some of the marketing companies, and the issue has been typically in being able to fully transfer your knowledge around your ideal client profile to them, because as marketers they might not understand it as good as you do, because you serve them, so you do know a lot more than them about that. So that has been one of the challenges. But apart from that, yeah, totally agree with you. So what are some goals you're working towards with your company right now for the next 1 to 3 years?
Well, like I mentioned earlier, I've recently founded the Succession Consulting Group. I'm still got ResultsNow that hosts all of my licensed IP and my leadership development. But this Succession Consulting Group is a new venture that's entirely about helping business owners navigate successful transitions. So it could be a digital transition, it could be any sort of cultural transition, or anything that they're installing in some new change. Or succession. Organizational transformations and succession will impact everybody in the organization. So this consulting group is made up of multidisciplined team of experts that I have vetted and brought together as a team that help me with marketing and sales, IT, which are about digital transformations mostly right now,
Mm-hmm.
financial planning, accounting, business brokerage, and together we collaborate to guide, small and medium-sized companies and owners through the complex process of succession planning with a lot more clarity and confidence. I've developed a 10-step roadmap, succession roadmap. And so it's for educational purposes to help business owners, stop them from, going and going and going until they burn out, or they finally decide, I'm getting older, or somebody in their sphere of influence has gotten sick or has passed away, and they go, oh my God, I want to get out. They go to a business broker and they don't get the full value of their business, and that's a problem. And so this whole new venture is about educating them on making sure that they do all of these steps before they go to a business broker,
Mm-hmm.
which I happen to have one of those as a part of my team of experts, as a part of this consulting group.
And so the consulting group, when we think about it, is sort of like a team, but it's made up of associates.
Yeah, they all have their own businesses.
Mm-hmm.
But we're working together. When I bring a client in, we're working together to help that client both through free education, free webinars, to guide
Mm-hmm.
them through things. But when they need to engage with an expert, my curated expert team will be the first for that client to access
Mm-hmm.
and work directly with them to help them. And this process is done region by region. So it's part of the full venture as I build it out over the next 3 to 5 years. I'll have consulting groups in different cities.
Oh, I see. So you're thinking about expanding to different consulting groups. Why is it important that they have to be localized?
Mostly because of the audience in which we work with. They are not highly technical. They are between 45 and 70, 75 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is all before internet.
Yeah.
People really like, oh my God, there was life before the internet. Yes, there was. So because of that, it's one of the parts of it is face to face. They have
In person.
a mentality of trust comes with meeting an individual face to face, shaking their hand, and knowing you're going to be taken care of because that person's in your corner and they can be called upon, and you can walk into their office and you can talk to them. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really super important that things are very regional. Like we'll draw people from, larger surrounding area into a city, but it's super important to have that face to face for
Mm-hmm.
that audience. If it's a younger audience, it wouldn't be as necessary, but this audience, hugely important.
I see. So it makes a lot of sense then. And so you're thinking about having more of these succession consulting groups. Where are you seeing the challenge with doing that right now?
Well, As I mentioned earlier, really it's about marketing. It's about finding those marketing challenges. That's my number one, is the marketing challenges, getting to these individuals. They're maybe on Facebook, and a lot of them are on Facebook for very family or hobby related issues. And they're on LinkedIn, or they've got a profile on LinkedIn, but they don't visit LinkedIn all the time. So marketing to them using my normal avenue, like I would for leadership development directly to businesses that are looking for leadership. It's different because they are not on social media a lot. So I have to do email campaign. That's how come I'm for this succession group. I'm doing a lot more email campaign. I'm doing a lot more outreach in terms of, that's how come I'm, keeping it regional, because it's so much easier if I can, do the one-on-one, face-to-face, that kind of thing, to get the comfy, cozy feeling of going, I'm real, my company is real, my experts are real, this is a part of a larger group, so it's super important from a marketing point of view to be very innovative about getting in front of that audience. And my other one is business systems. And my third one is leadership talent, backfilling me. See, as I build this out, I'm always thinking succession. I'm thinking, how do I create scalability, sustainability? So finding leadership talent that can backfill me, and coaching like leadership coaches to backfill me to do the one-on-one, to do the group sessions is hugely important for me. But, systems are important as well, because, having a CRM talk to my other systems, counting, that kind of thing, is important because I hate duplication. Like, I hate having to duplicate this. I want it to migrate on its own. If I've inputted it once, it better show up somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's huge.
For everything that needs to scale, systems like these are very important because things can get messy pretty quickly once you start to scale. So it makes a lot of sense. And since we're talking about scale, while we're at it, I wanted to ask you, and this is kind of like the final question is, what advice would you give to other coaches who are thinking of scaling their impact? And you don't have to think about the coach who's going to listen. You think about the coach as if it was you.
Basically, my first piece of advice is think bigger than you ever have before. Start small and scale it up. And the other one is work on developing your own skills to successfully manage your mindset and your focus. The whole productivity, just focus on what you need to focus on instead of this distraction. We live in a world of multiple distractions, and it's becoming a big challenge for people to stay focused on their priorities and their activities because they're constantly being interrupted. So that's huge. And I would really encourage them to embrace AI. All of that time leverage that you get from AI tools, just really embrace it and become much more productive with them. And you teach it to learn from your voice, your scope, your concept of how you want to be presented, your brand. They learn very quickly if you stay very consistent with your voice. And so that's hugely important. I'm learning that. So it's, it's in my mind.
Yeah.
And learn marketing skills, learning new approaches inside and out. Marketing is the engine. Like, you can have a product or a service, but if you can't market it, it's going to sit there. As a radio sales gal, she was doing a little chat, and she says, without advertising, without marketing and advertising, it's like winking in the dark.
That's an interesting analogy. Yeah.
And the third one, or fifth one, is really to find ways to showcase your unique abilities and vision. That's huge. It's like the think big. People don't think big enough. They think, okay, I'm going to develop a program. Then I'm going to develop a funnel. Then I'm going to get clients. But then what? Like, I don't know if everybody's like me. I always think about, okay, well, where can it go from here? So what's next? I'm always wanting to develop and be innovative on what is another challenge or what's another micro niche that's not being served in my market. And so if you think big enough to start off with, you start realizing there's many ways to showcase your abilities in multiple ways. By bringing education information or programs or products to the market that you're serving, that it solves a problem, solves a need, information gap, whatever it might be. Hopefully that's, helpful for them. But if somebody like I just said that to me when I was like 20 years earlier, I would have gone, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm thinking too small.
it is great advice, and you covered many areas. So you covered marketing, covered thinking big, and it's just like the whole part of business. And when we think about marketing, is interesting because it's kind of like that starting push of the wheel of the business where it actually gets it going. Without marketing, you have the structure, but it's not going to move. And with just marketing, you have nothing to move. So it is an interesting thing. But yeah, thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you so much for coming to our show. For anyone who wants to connect with you or find you, they can go into LinkedIn and look up Melissa Dunkley. They'll be able to find your profile. Another way they could connect with you is
ResultsNowInc.com.
ResultsNowInc.com. We'll put that on the description as well for people. Can they also reach you through email? Because I can see your email on LinkedIn. I don't know if that's a good way.
Absolutely. They can reach me through email, direct message me through LinkedIn. That's just fine.
Cool.
Connect with me, get some free education. Yeah.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you so much for coming. It was a pleasure to have you on the show.
Well, thank you so much for talking today and inviting me to the show. I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.